Vistasp Yast. Part 1 regards 1 through 5. 1. I am a pious man who speaks words of blessing. Thus said Zarathustra to the young king Vistaspa. She appears to me full of glory, O Zarathustra, O young king Vistaspa. I bless thee with the living of a good life, of an exalted life, of a long life. May thy men live long, may thy women live long, may thy sons be born unto thee of thy own body. 2. Mayest thou thyself be holy like Zarathustra. Mayest thou be rich in cattle like an Athwayanid. May thou be rich in horses like Pourus Aspa. May thou have a good share of bliss like King Husrava. Mayest thou have strength to reach the Ranga, whose way lies afar, as Vafra Navaza did. 3. May 10 sons be born of thy own body, 3 as Apravans, fire priest, 3 as warriors, 3 as tillers of the ground. May one of them be like Gamaspa, that he may bless thee with great and ever greater happiness. 4. Mayest thou be freed from sickness and death, like Pesho Tanu. Mayest thou have piercing rays like Mithra. Mayest thou be warm like the moon. Mayest thou be resplendent like fire. Mayest thou be long-lived as an old man can be. 5. When thou hast fulfilled a duration of 1,000 years, mayest thou obtain the bright, all-happy, blissful abode of the holy ones. Asham Bahu, holiness is best, all good, and so on. Part 2 is verse 6 through 12. 6. Give him strength and victory, give him welfare and cattle and bread. Thus said Zarathustra to the young king Vistaspa. Give him a great number of male children, praisers of God, and chiefs in assemblies, who smite and are not smitten, who smite at one stroke their enemies, who smite at one stroke their foes, ever in joy and ready to help. Ye entities of full glory, ye entities of full healing, let your greatness become manifest. We're talking about disincarnate entities, the light beings. 8. Zarathustra addressed him, saying, O young king Vistaspa, may their greatness become manifest as it is called for. Ye waters, impart and give your glory to the man who offers you a sacrifice. This is the boon we beg for thee. Of Asha Ungohe, of Rata, with eyes of love. 9. Pa Rende, of the light chariot, follows. Mayest thou become manifest unto him. The young king Vistaspa, may plenty dwell in this house, standing upon high columns and rich in food. Thou wilt never offer and give bad food to a priest, for a priest must be to thee like the brightest offspring of thy own blood. 10. Zarathustra spake unto him, O young king Vistaspa, he who supports the law of the worshippers of Mazda as a brother, or as a friend, he who treats her friendly in any way, looks to keep off want of food from her. 11. The holy Zarathustra preached that law to Vistaspa and Gamaspa. May ye practice holiness and thrive, O young Vistaspa and Gamaspa. 12. Thus said Ahura Mazda unto the holy Zarathustra, and thus again did Zarathustra say unto the young king Vistaspa, have no bad priest or unfriendly priest, or bad priest or unfriendly priest will bring about much harm, and though thou wish to sacrifice, it will be to the Ameshaspentas as if no sacrifice had been offered. Asham Vahu, holiness is the best of all good, and so on. Part 3 is verse 13 to 23. 13. When I teach thee that thou mayest do the same to thy son, O Vistaspa, receive thou well that teaching. that will make thee rich in children and rich in milk, rich in seed and fat in milk. 14. Thus do we announce unto thee Ahura Mazda and Sirozahs and Asha, and the law of the worshippers of Mazda, with the whole of all her hymns, with the whole of all her deeds, with the whole of her performances, the law of Mazda, who obtains her wishes, who makes the world grow, who listens to the songs and rejoices, the faithful man at his wish, who protects the faithful man, who maintains the faithful man. 15. From whom come the knowledge of holiness, and the increase in holiness of the world of the holy principle, and without whom no faithful man can know holiness. To thee come every Havanan, every Atara, Vaksha, every Frabar Atar, every Aberet, every Asnatar, every Rathwiskar, every Strasha Fares. 16. Every priest, every warrior, every husbandman, every master of a house, every lord of a borough, every lord of a town, every lord of a province. 17. Every youth of good thoughts, good words, good deeds, and good religion, every youth who speaks the right words, every one who performs the next of kin marriage, and every itinerant priest, every mistress of a house, every wandering priest, obedient to the law. Now, the next of kin marriage thing came in during the Achaemenid period, and it goes a bit further than the whole, well, I'm not promoting forced marriage either, but in the Bible there's the forced marriage of the of your brother's widows, and it's forced on both paths. 18. To thee come all the performers of holiness, all the masters of holiness, who, to the number of 33, stand next to Havana, being masters of holiness. 19. May they be fully protected in thee, O young king Vistasp, while thou smitest thy adversaries, thy foes, those who hate thee, 100 times, 100 for 100, 1,000 times for 1,000. Times for 100, 1,000 times, 1,000 for 1,000, 10,000 times 10,000 for 10,000, myriads and myriads for a myriad. 20. Proclaim thou that word, as we did proclaim it unto thee. O maker of the good world, Ahura Mazda, I worship thee with the sacrifice I worship, and forward thee with the sacrifice I worship this creation of Ahura Mazda. 21. O young king Vistaspa, asked Zarathustra, with what manner of sacrifice shall I worship? With what manner of sacrifice shall I worship and forward this creation of Ahura Mazda? 22. Zarathustra answered, We will make it known unto thee, O young king Vistaspa. Go towards that tree that is beautiful, high-growing, and mighty amongst the high-growing trees, and say thou these words, Hail to thee, O good holy tree, made by Mazda. Ashem Bohu. 23. Let the faithful man cut off twigs of Erisma, either 1 or 2 or 3, let him bind them and tie them according to the rites, being bound and unbound according to the rites. The smallest twig of Ha'ama, pounded according to the rules. The smallest twig prepared for sacrifice gives royalty to the man who does it. Ashem Bahu, holiness is the best of all good. And ephedra is a healing herb, and that's the base of the word here, but it's the soma blend was opium, ephedra, and marijuana, and home, ephedra alone is normally used nowadays as a replacement, and some people would use cough medicine. They'd use pseudoephedrine cough medicine, really, that's more common. Again, not recommending recreational or ritual drug use in that respect. But if you take, if you take part in any healing process, yeah, make it religious. But part 4 is 24 to 33. 24. Zarathustra said, O young king Vistaspa, invoke Ahura Mazda, who is full of glory, Ahura Mazda, and the sovereign heaven, the boundless time, and by you who works highly. 25. Invoke the powerful wind made by Mazda and fate. Repeat thou those words, that the entity invoked may give thee the boon wished for, that thou, strong and belonging to the creation of the good spirit, mayest smite and take away the droog and watch, with full success, those who hate thee, smite down thy foes and destroy at one stroke thy adversaries, thy enemies, and those who hate thee. 26. Proclaim thou those prayers, they will cleanse thy body from deeds of lust. O young king Vistasp, I will worship thee, O fire, son of Mazda, who art a valiant warrior. He falls upon the fiend Kunda, who is drunken without drinking, upon the men of Drug, the slothful ones, the wicked Da'eva worshippers who live in sin. Now, drunken without drinking, we do not mean just the states of ecstasy like drugs. We mean, the reduction of consciousness and control and stuff that could be, thought of when people think about drinking. 27. He trembles at the way made by time, and open both to the wicked and to the righteous. They tremble at the perfume of his soul, as a sheep does on which a wolf is falling. 28. Recite the whole collection of the Sta'ata Yastnya prayers. Brings one up all the way to the blessed Garo Namana, the palace beautifully made, that is indeed the way. 29. That man who does not follow the way of the law of Zarathustra, I who commits the Ba'atho Varsta crime with a damsel and an old woman, said Zarathustra to the young king Vistasp. Let him praise the law of Spitaba Zarathustra, and long for it, and embrace the whole of the law as an excellent horse turns back from the wrong way and goes along the right one, smiting many droogs. 30. Go forward with praises, go forward with the way of the good Mazdian law, and of all those who walk in her ways, men and women. He who wishes to seize the heavenly reward will seize it by giving gifts to him who holds up the law to us in this world here below. 31. Let him give the law to him who is unfriendly to her, that he may become friendly. Wash thy hands with water, not with Gomez, Bulgarian, and let thy son, with O, who will be born of thy wife, do the same. Thus thy thought will be powerful to smite him who is not so. Thy speech will be powerful to smite him who is not so. Thy deed will be powerful to smite him. 32. Hear me, forgive me. We, the Ameshaspentas, will come and show thee, O Zarathustra, the way to that world, to long glory in the spiritual world, to long happiness of the soul in paradise. 33. To bliss in paradise, to the Garo Namana of Ahura Mazda, beautifully made and fully adorned, when his soul goes out of his body through the will of fate, when I, Ahura Mazda, gently show him his way, as he asked for it. Hashem, Vahu, holiness, the best of all good, and so on. 5:34. They will impart to thee full brightness and glory. They will give him quick and swift horses and good sons. He wishes to go to the law. The young king Vistasp, Zarathustra said, let him who is unfriendly to her become a follower of the law of Mazda, such as we proclaim it. 35. Claim thou ever under the bar. Ever mayest thou wait here for the refuse that is brought unto thee, brought by those who have profusion of wealth. Thus the droog will not fall upon thee and throw thee away. Thou wilt wield kingly power there. 36. The law of Mazda will not deliver thee unto pain. Thou art entreated for charity by the whole of the living world, and she is ever standing at thy door in the person of thy brethren in the faith. Beggars are ever standing at the door of the stranger, amongst those who beg for bread. Ever will that bread be burning coal upon thy head. The good holy Rata made by Mazda goes and nurses thy bright offspring. 37. Zarathustra addressed Vistaspa, saying, O young king Vistaspa, the law of Mazda, O my son, will give thy offspring the victorious strength that destroys the fiends. Let no thought of Engra Ma'inu ever infect thee, so that thou shouldest indulge in evil lusts, make derision and idolatry, and shut to the poor she the door of the house. 38. Atar thus blesses the man who brings incense to him, being pleased with him, and not angry, and fed as he required. May herds of oxen grow for thee, an increase of sons. May fate and its decrees bring thee the boons that thou wishest for. Therefore do thou invoke and praise me excellently in the glorious world, that I may have unceasing food full of the glory of Mazda, and with which I am well pleased. 39. O Mazda, take for thyself the words of our praise, of these words. Speak and speak again the strength and victorious vigor, the power of health and healing, the fullness, increase, and growth. Bring it together with the words of hymns of the Garo Namana of Ahura Mazda. He will first enter there. Therefore, do thou pronounce these prayers. Asham Bahu, holiness is the best of all good, and so on. 6 is 40 to 44. 40. Converse ye with the Mesha Spentas, said Zarathustra, under the young king Vistaspa, with the devout Sarasha, and Nairio Samga, the tall-formed, and Atar, the son of Hermazda, and the well-desired kingly glory. 41. Men with lustful deeds address the body, but thou, all the night long, address the heavenly wisdom. But thou, all the night long, call for the wisdom that will keep thee awake. 3 times a day, raise thyself up, and go and take care of the beneficent cattle. 42. Of these men may the lordship belong to the wisest of all beings, O Zarathustra. May their lord belong to the wisest, O Zarathustra. Let him show them the way of holiness. Let him show them at once the way thereto, which the law of the worshippers of Mazda enters victoriously. Thus the soul of man, in the joy of perfect holiness, walks over the bridge, not afar, the powerful Kinvat bridge, the well-kept and kept by virtue. 43. How the worlds were arranged were said to thee first, O Zarathustra. Zarathustra said it again to the young king Vistaspa. Therefore do thou praise him, who keeps and maintains the moon and the sun. He who has little friendship for the law, I have placed him down below to suffer. 44. Thus said Engra Ma'inu, he who has no glory in him, who is full of death, this is an unbeliever. Let us throw him down below. This is a liar or a traitor to his relatives, and like a mad dog who wounds cattle and men, but the dog who inflicts wounds pays for it. As for willful murder, the first time he shall smite a faithful man, the first time he shall wound a faithful man, he shall pay for it. As for willful murder, Asham Vahu, holiness is the best of all good. 7 is 45 to 52. 45. Mayest thou receive, O holy young king Vistaspa, house, with 10,000 large windows, 10,000 small windows, all the year long. O holy Vistaspa, never growing old, never dying, never decaying, never rotting, giving plenty of meat, plenty of food, plenty of clothes to the other worshippers of Mazda. 46. May all boons be bestowed upon thee as I proclaim it unto thee. May the Amesha Spentus impart to thee their brightness and glory and plenty, may they give him quick and swift horses and good sons, strong, good in all things, powerful to sing the hymns. 47. He wields his power according to the wish of Ahura Mazda, the good spirit, and for the destruction of the evil spirit, whichever of two men goes quicker to perform a sacrifice to Ahura. But if he chooses to perform the sacrifice and prayer to us not in the right way, he does not wield the right power. He will not reign. 48. He will receive bad treatment in the next world, though he has been the sovereign of a country. With good horses to ride and good chariots to drive, give royalty to that man, O Zarathustra, who gives royalty unto thee with good will. 49. Thou shalt keep away the evil by this holy spell of thee, child. I will cleanse the birth and growth of thee, O woman. I will make the body and the strength pure. I make thee a woman rich in children and rich in milk, a woman rich in seed and milk and an offspring. For thee I shall make springs run and flow towards the pastures that will give food to the child. 50. Do not deliver me into the hands of the fiend. If the fiend take hold of me, then fever with loss of all joy will drive the milk of the good spenta armaite. The fiend is powerful to distress and to drive the milk of the woman, indulges in lust, and of all females. 51. The perfume of fire, pleasant to the maker, Ahura Mazda takes them away from afar, and all those that harm the creation of the good spirit are destroyed. 52. Whom Mithra and Rashnu resista, and the law of the worshippers of Mazda, which should be taken far away, longing for a man who is eager to perform, and does perform the ceremonies he has been taught, and so on. Ashem Bohu, holiness is the best of all good, and so on. 8 is 53 to 65. 53. The words of the Vahistoiste Gatha are to be sung. Happy is he, O holy Vistaspa, happy the man, whoever he be, to whom Ahura Mazda gives the full accomplishment of his wishes. Where does his soul abide on that night? 54. Ahura Mazda answered, O my son, Vistaspa, it takes its seat near the head, singing the Usta Vaite Gatha, and proclaiming happiness. Happy is he, happy the man, whoever he be. On the first night, his soul sits in good words. On the second night, it sits in good deeds. On the third night, it goes along the ways to Garo Namana. 55. At the end of the third night, O my son, Vistaspa, when the dawn appears, it seems to the soul of the faithful one as if it were brought amidst plants and scents. It seems as if a wind were blowing from the region of the south, from the regions of the south. A sweet-smelling wind, sweeter scented than any other wind in the world, and it seemed to his soul as if it were inhaling that wind with the nose, and it asked, saying, Whence does that wind blow? The sweetest scented wind I ever inhaled with my nose. 56. And it seems to him as if his own conscience were advancing to him in that wind, in the shape of a maiden fair, bright, white-armed, strong, tall-formed, high-standing, thick-breasted, beautiful of body, noble, of a glorious seed, of the size of a maid in her 15th year, as fair as the fairest things in the world. 57. And the soul of the faithful one addressed her, asking, What maid art thou, who art the fairest maid I have ever seen? 58. And she, being his own conscience, answers him, O thou youth of good thoughts, good words, and good deeds, of good religion, I am thy own conscience. Everybody did love thee for the greatness, goodness, fairness, sweet-scented, victorious strength, and freedom from sorrow, in which thou dost appear to me. And so thou, O youth of good thoughts, good words, and good deeds, of good religion, didst love me for that greatness, goodness, fairness, sweet-scented victorious strength, and freedom from sorrow, in which I appear to thee. 59. When thou wouldst see a man making derision and deeds of idolatry, or rejecting the poor, and shutting his door, then thou wouldst sit, singing the Gathas, and worshipping the good waters, and Attar, the son of Ahura Mazda, and rejoicing the faithful that would come from near or from afar. 60. I was lovely, and thou madest me still lovelier. I was fair, and thou madest me still fairer. I was desirable, and thou madest me still more desirable. I was sitting in a forward place, and thou madest me sit in the foremost place. Through this good thought, through this good speech, through this good deed of thine, and so henceforth men worship me for my having long sacrificed unto and conversed with Ahura Mazda. 61. The first step that the soul of the faithful man made placed him in the good thought paradise. The second step that the soul of the faithful man made placed him in the good word paradise. The third step of the soul of the faithful man placed him in the good deed paradise. The fourth step that the soul of the faithful man made placed him in the endless light. 62. Then one of the faithful who had departed before him asked, saying, How dost thou depart this life, thou holy man? How dost thou come, thou holy man, from the abodes full of cattle, and full of the wishes and enjoyments of love, from the material world unto the world of the spirit, from the decaying world into the undecaying one? How long did thy felicity last? 63. And Ahura Mazda answered, Ask him not what thou askest him, who has just gone the dreary way, full of fear and distress, when the body and the soul part from one another. 64. Let him eat of the food brought to him, of the oil of Zaremia. This is the food for the youth of good thoughts, of good words, of good deeds, of good religion, after he has departed this life. This is the food for the holy woman, rich in good thoughts, good words, and good deeds, well-principled, obedient to her husband, after she has departed this life. 65. Spitama Zarathustra said to the young king Vistasp, To what land shall I turn, O Ahura Mazda? To whom shall I go with praying? Asham Bahu, holiness is the best of all good, and so on. And the ones to follow are the Nyayis. And so 1570. Remember, the worship is not that we're taking such and such beings as intercessor deities or anything like that. Afra Baka'u is the one who seeks blessing. Kayus is Nafsman, and may thou know thyself. Know yourself and know your Lord, as the phrase says, but it's not worship yourself, but immortality. Asham Marezo Ahul Yi Pat Manik Amargig. The good share of bliss mentioned in verse 2. And in verse 3, as the author of Vons, we have, like Aturpat, the son of Mahar Aspand, says the Pahlavi commentary, like Spendat is Fendyar, the son of Vistasp, like Sav, Usava, Sav, something something, Urbes et Castella Quae. Oh wait, no, that's. Oh, come on, translate. is that French? Okay. And a variation of the text here at the end of verse 3, ever greater and greater happiness. Here we have Afrin patas obdunat, kegun gamasp, kart madam matapat gustasp. Pashotanu was the son of Vistasp. Zarathustra made him drink of a certain sort of milk, and he forgot death. He is one of the 7 immortals, and reigns in Kangdes. The Zartushtnama and Bundahis 29.5 mention that. Vavahe is, the resplendent like fire. And that's... So we see enumerated the examples of the proper side, you could say. And, the worship is the respect, the putting the memory. So the nama, what words are we using for worship? It's not the same thing as when Ahura Mazda is praised. So the Pahlavi translation of verse 5. No, I'm seeing a number missing. So maybe it's verse 4. Follows Yasts 23:4. Although the text is the same as in Westergaard, only Baba'e and Zar Numato instead of Bavahe Zaranu Mato. The Ma Nyayis is similar to verse 6 in parts, and we're talking about the waters. The Havathro Nahim Asani Lahmak is, the bread. The welfare in cattle and bread. Pa o ur vatatem kabada farzand. A great number of male children. Okay. Sta hyanam kabad